Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. Thank you for watching this video. So in this video, we continue on another topic that we call as system testing, implementation and maintenance. So first we discuss about the system testings and then we go for implementation, and last but not least is about the maintenance. So why we need the system testing in information system development? You can refer back to the SDLC, Software Development Life Cycle. It starts with the planning part, gather the information regarding the requirement, and then it will end with the maintenance. Okay. After we plan our system, we do collect all the information, all the requirements. Okay, we do the analysis on the system to identify the features, the characteristic of the system, and then we start to design and develop the system. So after we develop the system, we need to test our system. And then after everything okay, then we will continue on the implementation or installation for the new system. And after we install the system, we need to maintain the system. So that is basically what we have learned throughout the semester, is about the step or process piece by piece when we want to develop an information system. So basically, under this topic, it will cover about the testing part, type of testing, should know, integration part. Okay, and then we continue with the documentation. Why documentation is needed when we develop a system. And then we proceed with the installation part. Okay, installation, type of installations, what kind of installation process that we can implement in our organization. Okay, let's say you have a new system, the new system want to replace the old system. So how the methodology that we should use. Okay, followed by the training part. When we have a new system, okay, logically in our organization, when we have new system, okay, we install the new system, we need to train the users of the system. And then support, maintenance, and then computer aided software engineering tools, or CASE. CASE. So for the first part, we go for the testing. Testing is about we have the system and how we conduct the testing towards our information system, the developed system. Okay. Refer to this diagram. Okay, we have system test here. System test refer to the whole process of testing of our information system. And then inside the system test, we have the integration test. Okay, we have this part, the whole part is the system test, and then inside the system test we has the integration test, and we have the unit test. Okay, we develop a system, it's a big system, and in order to implement or do the testing, we need to divide into several chunks. Okay, so we have unit test program 1, then we go for unit test program 2, and then we go for unit test program 4, 5, 3, and 6. So this is the units of our program inside the information system. This part we call as the integration test. So in the unit testing, we have the test data. So for the test data that we use, we need to identify either is correct or incorrect data. Okay, let's say user enter some data using the interface, input interface. We need to test either the data that being inserted by the user are the same data that being captured in our database. So this is the process of test data. If the data is in a string pipe, so how about the data that we store in the database? If we put authentication, if we put hash in our data, or we want to encrypt the data, how does it work at the database? Let's say, for example, if we want to create a system that have secure enough, so when user enter the data, it enter with the plain text, but the system has the encryption method. Supposedly, after the user enter the data, and then it will encrypt the data into other things. Let's say we enter Saya, but using the encryption inside the information system that we have created, we do encrypt that Saya into the Ayas. Okay, for example, Saya become Ayas. So supposedly that Ayas store in the database. Okay, when you look at the database, you should see Ayas. Okay, when the user try to call back, it should display as Saya. So that is the data integrity of that part. So we want to test either the data is correct or incorrect. Okay, and then we have the start testing and then test plan. Okay, test plan is very important because we want to have a plan before we conduct the testing. So task plan, supposedly in the task plan we have answer this kind of question: how the test is conducted, when this test should be conducted, who are the one who test our system, what the test data, the sample data that we use for the right. And we also need to show that is it in the current environment or testing environment. Okay, for the testing part. How, where we should test the data. Black box test or white box testing. Okay, next part is about integration testing. So testing two or more programs that depends on each other. That's we call as the integration testing. Okay, let's say we have a program, more than one program, and it depends on each other in order to provide the right information. So we need to have the integration testing. Okay, for example, we have the ordering system, and then the ordering system integrate with the payment part. So we need to do the testing for the integration between the ordering system and the payment part. Okay, if we have the delivery part, tracking part, so we need to make sure that we conduct the integration testing between the ordering, the payment, the tracking part. Okay, to ensure that the program or the system that we develop is good enough. Okay, so this part is the integration testing. And the system testing is referred to the whole system or the entire information system. And then the acceptance test by the users or the stakeholders. Either they accept or not with the system that we have developed. Okay, done with the testing part, and then we continue with the documentation. So in documentation, we have the program documentation, we have the system documentation, the operation documentation, and user documentation. User refer to the manual for the users. Okay. So in the program documentation, it will describe the input, the output, and the processing logic for all program modules that become a part of our information system. And then for the system documentation, it will describe the system function and how they are implemented. The data dictionary entries, data flow diagram, object model, the screen layout, the source document, and the system request that initiated that project. It means these are the system documentation you should know when people ask you about the system documentation. Okay, for network student is okay, but I believe for the system engineering student, ISS student, you should focus on this more about the documentation because it's related to your work later on. And then we have the operation documentation. Okay, we have the system and then we have the operation. So in this document, it will contain all the information needed for processing and distributing online and printed the output. So under the operation documentation, program, system analyst, the programmer, and system identifications are involved. Okay, the scheduling information for printed the output. Okay, the scheduling part is like the report, how frequent it will print the output, the deadline. Okay, this one is referred to the operation, operation of the system. And then the input file and where they originate, and output file and the destinations, source and the destination. And then it also need to document about the emails, the report distribution list, email to who are responsible with the certain action. And then special form required, including the online form, offline form, what type of forms that are required in order to operate your information system. Next is about the error and informational message to the operators and restart the procedures. Okay, let's say we have error occurs during runtime. What are the next procedure? So that's a part of the operation when we run the information system. So we need to take care into our consideration. And then the special instruction such as the security requirement. Okay, for example, the authentication. So you should give the specific instruction inside this operation documentation. Okay, next we have the user documentation. So user documentation consists of instruction and information to users who will interact direct to the system or indirectly to the system. So it includes the manual, how to use the system, the help screens, and the tutorial. Okay, how to use the system. This button is for what? Okay, this button will direct you to which page and so on. So a system overview that clearly describes all the major system features, capabilities, and the limitation. So this is user documentation. And then description of source document content, preparation, processing, and sample. Give you some example on how the system works. An overview of menu and data entry screens, options, content, and processing instructions. So this one is more on the user's part. Anything that will help your user to use your information system. So example of report that are produced regularly or available at the user's request, including the sample or example, and then security and audit trail information, the explanation of responsibility for specific input, output, or processing requirement, procedures for requesting changes and reporting problem, example of exception and error situation, frequently asked question, okay, FAQs. Okay, this one is very important for your user because it will help your user a lot. Okay, explanation of how to get help and procedures for updating the manual. Okay, if you are not really clear about the user documentation, maybe you can go to any service provider that have the kind of help and procedure FAQ. Okay, you can refer to Unify, you can refer to Maybank to you, okay, on the FAQ. So that is example of the documentation for the user. Okay, the next part is about the installation. We already developed the system. Then we go for the testing part and we prepare the documentation for our system. The next part is everything okay. Okay, when we conduct the system testing, everything is okay, everything integrated well. So the next part is about the installation. How we want to tell everyone that we want to move from the old system to the new system. So installation, prepare a separate operational and test environment. Okay, maybe we test separately. We don't test in the real environment. So now when we talk about the installation, we want to put our system in the real time environment. Okay, and then provide the training for the users, managers, and IT staff. Users that really directly interact with the system and indirectly interact with the system, and then perform data conversion and system change over. Okay, okay. This one is how we want to implement that part. Okay. The next is about the operational versus test environment. We have here IT staff test environment, and then this one is the user's operational environment. Okay, if a developer, we always go for this part. Okay, we just test in our own environment. Okay, in certain part. Okay, when we do the testing, we have server that really use only for the testing. So we don't interrupt the real data from the real operation. So now when the system is already complete, is already completed, you are already done with the system, already do the testing. So how you want to move from the testing environment to the real operational environment? Okay, so inside the test environment, we have the test data, we have the procedures, and we have the program. Okay, authorize change from this part to this part. Okay, under this part, we also have the test data, the procedures, and the program, but the operation, but the environment is different. Okay, so next video, we will continue on the training part. So that's all for the first part. We already talked about the system testing, the documentation, and about the installation. So the next video, we continue on the training. Right. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.